All right. Good morning or night, wherever it is, and whether over the world that you're in. Um, this topic is something that I've been wanting to speak about for years. Years. It's something that I had to deal with for years. It never gets easy, but now that I think that I'm in a more older place now, I think I can speak on it a little bit more effectively than I was able to back when I was a little younger. So, you know, when I talk about high intelligence, um, I refer to obviously having a gravitation to things outside the general subjects, math, art, science, philosophy. Um, y- you kind of know those things, kind of a little bit versed in those, but even outside of that, you have really good knack to lead and take control of a situation, to problem solve, to look a little bit deeper than the average, and to you have the ability to take yourself outside of your shoes and put yourself in others. Um, it's like a wide range of things that you learn to do. And high intelligence does not just include book smart. It is way more than that. It's something that it's an intuition. It's like understand. It's like listening to the universe for real, for really listening. But I want to say, if I can trace it back, as far as I can try to trace it back to the kid, when I say it's different having having a sort of mind like that and growing up in the black community. I didn't grow up in the suburbs. I lived in the suburbs for like 1 year of my life. No, I grew up in Chicago. I grew up in the hood. I grew up in what we call Terrortown. Um, the likelihood of what they think of an intelligent black person coming from out of there is probably low to what they think. You know, the thing that changed my life and how I had to look at things and process things was I went to Mexico a long time ago, but when I went there, I I had to be I was put in a situation where I was completely out of my comfort zone or whatever you think you could have as a comfort zone at that time at 16. But I mean, I was in Mexico. I was had to stay with family, for about a week, speak Spanish with them, and I also had to be leader of the team that inadvertently the leader of the team because I was the only black kid at the time who could speak Spanish a little bit more fluently. So they wanted me to be the leader. I've always been pulled into leader positions and weird shit. But anyway, um, either way, just when I really stepped up to the plate and I knocked that out the park, I think it really showed me the importance of just knowing stuff and just being on your stuff with knowledge, being on your P's and Q's when it comes to knowledge. So from that point, I took that and I took that whole thing of going to new challenges and putting myself in tons of different situations that were out my comfort zone, whether it was book club, chess team, decathlon, debate, and it's all throughout high school. Just putting myself in things for the challenge, for the spark. I mean, I was dragged into debate, but I did love it when I got in there. Um, and the thing about that, ultimate thing that changed me there is that I won. The first year was pretty rough, and the one thing I learned about that first year, I went to an all black school um, in Wendell Phillips back in Chicago. At the time, it's a better school now, but at the time, it was just all black and school. Everybody was there from the hood. Everybody was there collectively from the projects. I remember one time I was having a conversation with the principal, and he told me, it's like, we're like the garbage can or recycle bin of the South Side. It's just that shit just always stuck with me. But either way, um, yeah, the school was not well off at the time. It wasn't. It was just seen as a hellhole. But what I did is, me and some friends in there, we got together and we formed a debate team. It was policy debate. Policy debate is probably one of those things where I don't I don't know why I don't like to argue with people. Like, everybody want to say they want to debate, and truthfully, they don't want to use facts though. They want to use emotions and opinions. I think often because of that, I don't use a lot of opinions. I think that's the one thing I want to say is we as black people get very, very comfortable with being told things and not going out of our way to find that answer for ourselves. I think we become too comfortable with getting spoon fed answers. I'm not a person who's comfortable with being spoon fed anything. I really have to look for the truth. I think that's the difference is I don't really ever take anything for face value. I question everything. I think that's what it is. I question everything, and that pisses people off. I question myself. I know that I am flawed and that I can change, and I do need changing. So, of course, I have a natural inquisitive nature. I question everything and I problem solve. And also because of my exposure to media, different types of media, different types of culture, I'll say, case in point, I live in Chicago. It's a beautiful city. And something I noticed growing up is a lot of my peers stay in their neighborhoods. Chicago is a beautiful city. It is a very segregated place. Like, a lot of people in the neighborhood, especially black, they stay usually cooped up in the neighborhood. Me growing up, I always took a train or a bus outside the neighborhood. Like, I never wanted to just sit on the block. I never had any desire to just sit on the block. There's nothing desirable about sitting on the block to me. I'm sorry. There's nothing desirable about reality TV to me. That's another thing. And after a while, even rap gets to a point where it gets so mundane and you keep hearing the same shit that just doesn't it don't reach me no more. So it's like, okay, well, now a lot of black people get stuck in this box where they stay to rap music, they stay to their neighborhood, and they usually just kind of stay with this ideology, right? a person who is outside of that is I'm a very like neurodivergent person, so I can easily go outside my box quite easily. That's something that comes behind intelligence. A lot of people don't like they're one. It's like a one way money, 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 money. I don't live life for money. I promise you, I don't live life for money. I promise you. I could care less about the money. You can't even take that shit with you. What you gonna do with money? What are you gonna do with it? All you're going to do with the money, sir. Nah, because of my pursuit and how I am with knowledge, I don't really care about the rat race. I don't really care about Rack City and I don't care about none of it. Like yes, I understand money is important, but it's not my life. There's other things that touch me. There's other things that move me on a spiritual, mental side. It's not money. And all I'm saying is when I talk about higher intelligence, it's the ability to just look outside of the general situation of what you normally know. I'm outside of that general situation. Case in point, I had to sacrifice, some things to get to even better place. I had to sacrifice phone. I don't have a phone number. If you're gonna contact me, you have to hit me up on Messenger or something. But what it allowed me to do is to actually really truly understand and see things and just really connect. So I move and segue into this. I move in the world with not that much of a distraction when it comes to my thought, my things, how I'm thinking or what I'm thinking. I'm not constantly glued down to my phone. I don't really have that distraction that's gonna take me out of anything. My mind is focused on much more abstract things of thinking. At any given time, I'm thinking dreams. I'm thinking of why somebody has done that. Why have you done that? I am thinking about the logical side, but I'm also thinking about the psychological side. Is there trauma that caused this? I'm trying to think of it from an empathetic side. Um, when I approach situations, I think of them from multiple different angles. And when I approach a situation, instead of reacting emotionally and everything like that, I usually come to situations with solutions before I'm more reactive. I don't know how to explain that, but most people, 90 things to 90% of the population is reactive. I'm not reactive in that way. I get mad, of course, and things bubble up in me, but I don't react right away. That doesn't come until like something has blow up. So that's one thing. I'm not a reactionary person. I think first before I move. Mm. But anyway, all I'm just saying is that I make this video because I know that there's probably obviously other people who dealt with this. That when you come up in the black community and you don't think the same as the collective and you don't talk about the same subjects, um, sometimes, unfortunately, you're going to feel very alone. So for years, I've always been a very quiet person, very analytical. I analyze everything. But I've never had really good, intellectually meaningful relationships with Yeah, with black people, I very rarely have those. Like if not, I could count on a hand, and it ain't been recent. No, I think we get caught up in you know knocking down logic, and we have a tendency to come on down on people who tend to learn things outside the norm, especially in the black community. We don't celebrate learning. We don't celebrate intelligence as much as we should. And we definitely don't celebrate it amongst black men. I promise you, even when I was doing what I was doing, there was not that many black people where I was. So I can count on one hand how many black people was in that room. So when I say this as a person whose intelligence has put me in rooms that you get to with a brain, from decathlon to debate to Wall Street. My brain has put me in those situations. When I went to Wall Street, I think that was another thing for me. I learned that it's pretty fruitless. Um, Money was fruitless to me from that point. I mean, you're the tip top of the iceberg of what money is to this country, or when people think of money and real money, you probably think of Wall Street. But I was there, and when I got there was nothing there that turned me on about that life. There was nothing there that turned me on. There was nothing. Oh man, I gotta get a mansion. I gotta get a Lamborghini. Like I was like, I really don't care. Um, there was other things I just cared about. If anything, I just want money so I could eat some good food, buy some good headphones. But other than that, I'm more interested in experiences, um, and that's what happens. I'm more interested in things that are a little bit more intangible. I'm less interested in material. I don't care about the drip. I don't care about none of that. That's neither here nor there. I'm not living to be a status symbol. I'm not living to fit in and be the power couple and also the weird shit. I don't deal with horoscopes. It's another thing we get caught up in that. I don't like getting caught in any sort of thinking or thought that limits your thoughts. Anything that limits who you are as a person, or gives you a limitation, I stay away from it. Horoscopes give limitations. I stay away from that. And to be honest with you, I think we talk about that shit way too much. Just saying. I think we put too much stock in that. I think we got away from learning who a person is on an individual level. Yeah. I don't know, you know, why we got away from that. But I think that's is one thing. Another thing in the black community that annoys me is a heavy reliance on these weird pseudosciences and emotional things. It's like we've been wired to be so emotional that we shun off anything that remotely looks like it's learning, or anything dealing with anything in an academic or just some more logical way. We just approach everything in such an emotional way. It's so annoying. And I think that's the biggest thing why I have a disconnect. It's a lot of a lot of black people have a huge issue where they they just don't go outside their comfort zone. It's they don't go outside their comfort zone. So so that's one thing I've always had to also deal with. When you're somebody when you're somebody who enjoys learning and things such as that nature, um, I'm naturally always gonna go outside, the box. So that's the thing with me. You know, I just wish more black people thought outside the box. Because of that, you hit with bullshit um, every day because of it. Misunderstandings. People misunderstand you all the time. Uh, they because because they don't. I think it's wise, like because they don't tend to really go outside of what they know. I tend to lose a lot of people because they don't really understand a lot of subjects outside of them because they don't go out their way to learn different things. They just stick to what they're comfortable with knowing. So that's what you deal with. I mean, posting stories and shit. So yeah, um, so that's the thing. That's one of the things I guess I want to highlight um, when it comes to it. It's just one thing is growing up, summarizing it all. It's just something I noticed that we're not really into a lot. We're not really big on championing intelligence in the black community. I think it's something that really needs to be worked on because at the end of the day, all it does is just push people away and everything like that. And it really does suck in that manner. So yeah, you know, that's one I want to say about that. I guess it does branch off though. Hold that thought. Still got to smoke, which brings me into the next point. So let me throw out this first. And then you goodness. Here's what you need in your life. Let me. Nice lemon. Mm, mm. ultimately, though, if I was gonna, provide some sort of solutions or ways to maybe make it better, a little bit different, so people like me or can fit in, or you can understand somebody like me, because I'm very easily misunderstood all the time. Take the time out your life to learn something. Not just anything. I mean, just learn something that's productive to you in a way. Whether it's a new skill or somebody else's perspective, different perspective of their life path. Now, I do this almost every day, but I wouldn't challenge you to do that. It's a lifestyle for me now. I literally train myself to do it. But either way, I think if you challenge yourself to new things and new perspectives, even if they're challenging, even if it sounds boring at first, I promise you, you will find something worthwhile. And it's not always about the instant gratification. And I know that we are in a society where we want instant gratification all the time. We want everything right now. But that's the one thing you have to understand. You're not gonna get it right now. And you may not ever get everything. But if you learn and build your mind up, I think things will change for you in better ways. And it's not always about money. Um, I grew up with a dad who pushed that very hard about money. And at this point, yeah, I do understand how to make it and everything, trust me, but it's like it's not the pursuit. So I always tell anybody I encounter, because this is one thing I always notice, is just get a hobby. A lot of people I run into don't have hobbies. I don't know about the world, but I'm just talking about what I run into. A lot of people don't have hobbies. And I think when you don't have hobbies, it really just kind of keeps you narrow. If you have hobbies, sometimes it could add things that maybe could take you out the way. Passions that could take you all over different places. So my solution is for people is to get outside your comfort zone sometime with learning. Another solution would be um, possibly a hobby. Always get a hobby. If you get a hobby, it opens you up to just different things in general. New perspective is always needed, and that's what I think that we're lacking sometimes. Like we fail to give ourselves a lot of new perspectives, and I think that hurts us. When you stay in your one place, you truly don't grow that way. Sorry, smoker. Mm, that was good. But yeah, when you stay in your one place, you don't really grow for real. And that's one thing is I've just always been about going outside my comfort zone. Um, I know I tell people to try to do it all the time. It's like, oh no, it's like please just be a little uncomfortable sometimes. I promise you, when you get past the suffering, there is great things It's like hot sauce. When you get past the burn and the dopamine, the endorphins kick in, the good shit comes out. So you sometimes it's okay. Put yourself through something. Put yourself through something mentally grueling. Put yourself through a challenge. Put yourself through something worthwhile. Go get a hobby, and maybe it'll open you up more. You start seeing life in a different way. Um, I tell you what. Now I'm happy. I am happy that we do have this new mayor, Brandon Johnson, in Chicago, because for me, I do like some of the things he was talking about, but I do like how he's going to put a focus back on the youth and back in education and back in the art programs, back in the schooling. It is good that he comes from that public school background. I'm from public schools, I know. So definitely kids need more of that. Like if we can inject more of those things, the arts, the history, we can really get kids back in the seats in schools. And I know a lot of schools is closed down, and I hope that we get a few opened up. I think that that's what we need to change the tide, and that's what we need for more understanding, just even stuff like that. Um, I really think that we just some we need to get back to knowledge. Like it's okay to have those pseudoscience ways of thinking, and but sometimes I think like we too once again I think we're too emotionally driven with our knowledge. We're too emotionally knowledge driven versus we do have to have some tangible knowledge and some real productive knowledge. Um, sometimes I'm just saying like I just want to see shifts. It would be great to see really good black shows on TV that have nothing to do with selling drugs. It would be great. It would be great if the top black show had nothing to do with selling drugs. Like that's all you ever see, selling drugs. Um, you know, it'd be great if the top rap album had nothing to do with. Hmm? Yeah, it'll be great. But I'm just saying we need shifts, shifts and change, and it does start with the self, like me, you know. But at this point, um, I just learned it's very important to kind of get out your narrative out there for understanding. I don't want there to be, at least for me, no misunderstanding of what I'm about and what I care about on my end. And I know there's like a million voices out there, and I got my own too. So for me, it's just about controlling the narrative now. So this is just, I guess, little rant thoughts on what I think about and what I've dealt with, slightly dealt with. I mean, I guess I would say this one thing: it's horrible for dating. Uh, if you're very smart and you have a very divergent way of thinking about things, and you don't think about things in a normal way, and I don't. It's very abstract when it comes to dating. I'm not gonna lie. And when it comes to dating black women, that shit is a whole different story. Um, at the end of the day, here's the story. Here's the thing. I am a very, very intimate person. I don't. When I look at a woman, I don't even. I've seen so many beautiful women. I'm past looks. I have to like get to something more now. I really don't even get turned on by looks anymore. I'm past it. We're all beautiful out here. Beautiful is that we've all seen it. It's really what they have, the internals. And the thing is that I'm I'm able to get down to the source, and I realize that there's a lot of trauma with a lot of black women that I deal with a lot of trauma. So what it turns into is trying to heal traumas, and it's less about dating and more healing trauma and just therapy and just other shit. Relationships become less intimate and more about fixing. But that's what I was like. That's one thing I definitely had to get away from. It's apple juice, not lean liquor. Um, yeah, and that's honeydew. Yeah, for me, navigating that world is different and interesting all at the same time. I'll put it like this: what you do learn, the most important thing you learn is that is that you know nothing about women. First off, you have to really dispel everything that you ever think about women, and that's what I had to learn. I had to disengage, not just from a standpoint of you have to rewire yourself. First, as a man, you're taught to look at women as objects, and you have to rewire yourself from that sort of thinking. And you have to rewire yourself from thinking they're there for sex and just that, and rewire yourself from thinking like, what is their place? Oh, in the kid, like no, you have to first the first years, if you really look into it and if you really think about it, for me, it was trying to rewire my brain into to getting back to understanding that um, you have to understand women are people. Um, and that's something I really learned early, very early. But I only learned that because I just read a lot. Like I read a lot of books. I engaged in a lot of literature. Um, Even before all my academic things, I always read books. I love the art. I love things like that. I've never been a person to shy away from those things. So uh, some of my favorite things have come from women. uh, so I mean, Uncle Tom's Cabin, Harriet Beecher Stowe. Uh, what's right? Their eyes were watching God, Lorraine Hansberry. You know, um, no, like that's why I be laughing when women talk. It's like, bro, like most of the things I like in life have been created by women, and I understand that place. What you're telling me is literally you're not really teaching me that when it comes to women. I literally study that shit. I studied that shit. Probably know about the history of your rights, starting with Susan B. Anthony. You know, I, hell, I knew about the damn woman king. I knew about the woman king. That's why I wanted to see the movie. And then anyway, that's besides the point. That's another thing. When it comes with high intelligence, you're gonna know a lot more things when you come to people, and people don't understand that. Like when I engage with people, I'm not even trying to sound like not trying to sound cocky. I'm literally not. It's a 90% chance that I know what you're gonna tell me, and I know what you're going to talk about. And hear me out. The reason that is, I have worked jobs, aka sales jobs, customer service jobs. I have dealt with people in a high enough volume at a successful level at a high enough volume because I always usually at the top metrics in these levels because I understand people to an extent that you see patterns. And this is what's hard to explain to people. I see patterns in people. People have patterns. When you get to a certain point, you can see the patterns. When you get to a point with yourself, you can see patterns in yourself, but it at least it allows you to break the pattern and recreate a new one. That's how you learn things a lot faster. You learn to be and harness your pattern. I'm in control of the pattern, not the other way around. Um, but neither here nor there. I kind of know what people are gonna say. I kind of know what they're gonna talk about. Because it's just kind of something that comes with it. And the people can't really understand that. It's hard to explain that to people. It's like, look, if you deal with people in a high enough value, you're gonna they all come the same in some way. They just all come the same. So that's my thing. Um, yeah, it's always fun dealing with people because then they think you're an asshole. You're not trying to be an asshole. It's like I'm not trying to be an asshole. It's just I guess because I know what you're probably going to talk about, and you do usually end up talking about what you're going to talk about, aka the latest rap song or a forex trade that went down, what basketball team played, the latest Power episode. What did the horoscope say? Uh, what's who's dating who is usually that. It's nothing really. I very rarely get approached with anything of substance. Just being honest with you. And because of that, it's easy to predict that you're not going to come at me with anything of substance. And if you're a person who wants substance, what that does is it can cause you to come off to be a lot more of an asshole than you want to be. It's not what you want to be, but it's just like it's like I don't know. It's like hearing a it's like having somebody who just says it's like Groundhog Day. I guess that's the best way to explain it. Sometimes when you live like so much stuff is almost predictable. It's almost like Groundhog Day to me most days. Most days is like Groundhog Day. You know what people are gonna do. You know how they're gonna act. You know what they're gonna say. You know how they're gonna. You know they're gonna throw up their affirmations. You know what they're gonna post about. You know really what they're gonna say when you say something. Um, when you get to a certain point, it becomes Groundhog Day. That is literally the best way I could explain higher intelligence. It literally becomes Groundhog Day to you, and it's agonizing. There are other things happening outside of the overall arc, but when you're talking to the normal people that you normally talk to, it's Groundhog Day. It never changes. What they're gonna talk, it never changes. What they see, it never really changes. For some strange reason, they're not able to look at anything a little deeper. It just bothers me. That bothers me. I'll try to illustrate into why I got back into art. I've always was into art. I currently post a lot of art, my little Instagram page, whatever. I've always drew. I've always made stories. I've always had that knack to create something. I've always had that. So I was visiting some galleries back here, in Chicago with a friend, and there was some good art in there. Don't get me wrong, great art. But I think that um, my issue with that I ran into is that it was just one. It was one type of art. It was just like one mode. It's like a monotone way of displaying art. You see just one sort of thinking. It's like all positivity, and there was, but it was just like, excuse me. I could see the struggle, but I guess it wasn't something I could relate to. Best the best way I could say it. Um, I can identify with people like Charles Bukowski, and I want to see art sometimes presented in that raw way. And I do feel that when I go to a lot of these galleries, the art's too safe. Um, I like black art, but I think it's too safe. And then even past that, I think art outside of black art is too safe. Maybe it's a cultural thing, but it's like when I think of the old masters, the Caravaggio's, the Basquiat's, the Edward Hoppers, Picasso, Van Gogh's, the Francis Bacon, those people, and even more, Vance Valery was serious. Um, I love art. Anyway, I think they painted from a very, very, very personal place, but they painted the pain. Um, they painted the purpose, the pain. They didn't paint the happiness, just the flowers and all this other stuff and just that. But they painted the pain outside of them, the suffering that was outside of just them. When I go to a lot of these galleries, they're very women focused. There's nothing wrong with that, but a lot of it's very internal. Nothing wrong with that. But sometimes I do want to see art that really reflects the world and really reflects our true relation to the world. It's not always a great relationship. Uh, and also, I want to see more of a perspective from a black man. That too. I'm so tired of that's all we can reference is Basquiat when it comes to black art. That's all you ever hear, and I respect what he has done greatly. But it really is a testament to how we are stuck in nostalgia. We don't celebrate what's here. Case in point, my good friend, she made these pieces of art. You know, I think it does a good job of mixing in different mediums. I bought it. I resonated with me. I bought it. This is new stuff happening. Is all I'm saying. Like it's a picture, but it's measured in with the painting. It's beautiful. All I'm saying is this: like we get so stuck in nostalgia when it comes to the art that I just didn't see we were really moving anything forward in a way. I don't know. It's like feels nothing like really moving forward. And for me, I just want to see a narrative from a black guy. I want to see my voice there. Is basically what I'm saying. Like I have a voice. My voice is a little different. My voice is maybe a little bit more raw. My voice is connected to a little bit different things because what I see in society is gonna be different. I'm a man. My way of how I come up is different. I'm not told to anything about to come up based on when you come up as a man, you realize that has nothing to do with looks. They don't tell you anything about looks. It's not about looks. So you can't really afford to be vain. You can't really afford to ever. That's not what it's ever going to be about. You're taught as a man, it's only about what you do and what you accomplish. So for me, I'm solution based. I see that there's a lack. I have to fill it. But in the meantime, it has been making me. It also helps me grow. Um, it helps me open up and explore more of not just me, but also the world and what's going on in it. And I'm just happy to be, I think, bringing a perspective that is missing, a raw perspective, a real raw perspective that I think is missing. I will continue to try to deliver that as much as possible. I I don't have time for superficial things. I think that's just the big takeaway, and I really don't have time for bullshit. Um, and I get down to business very quick. So that's one thing about me is I get to it. I don't want to waste time. We don't have time to waste. I mean, they just killed the Cash App founder the other day. He just got stabbed to death. Like life is so precious, and you never know. So anyway, that's how I'm going to stream. Summary is this: being very, very smart can hurt you because you're gonna have a narrow, a new, divergent way of looking at things, and the average normal person just doesn't walk around thinking of things in a multiversal, emotionally depth, empathetic way, uh, and they don't think in more solution based. They're more emotional based before logic based, and so therefore I clash with emotional people a lot, very lot, to the point where they think I'm the devil. I've literally been called the devil. I've literally been called the devil, the Terminator. I've been called the Antichrist because I lead with logic. I've literally been called like the eater of babies. Like I literally, man, the list goes on. So that's what I'm saying because I've always had the mind to just when you think logic first, and unfortunately when you deal with, but they very emotional. We're very emotional. Hey, I don't know. Maybe it's because we don't have stable homes. That actually is why a lot of us don't. It's imbalanced. We don't have balance. We don't have balance. We don't have balance. So what I'm saying is this: um, I want to get along better with black people, but I learned is that they need to achieve balance. That's all I'm saying. Just get a hobby. Learn that life is more about a rat race, more about getting some damn money. It's just more. It's just about more than that. I learned that sometimes learning something to help out the next man is just as good as getting a dollar. I don't know. Go out and do that. Go out and just purposely just like go learn something and pass it on to somebody and see how good you feel. Go see how good you feel. Like pass on something that they can use. That's some real good knowledge. And I just challenge you to do that. And then you'll understand like what it is to truly learn and pass on that knowledge and keep it going. Because ultimately I think that's how we'll ultimately fix a lot of problems if we achieve a balance in ourselves, especially from a mental standpoint. Anyway, have a good day.